I love the Nintendo 64 and I also love the Nintendo Switch, and many of us are waiting and wondering why Nintendo hasn't released Nintendo 64 games on the Nintendo Switch online service. Well, in today's video I'm going to talk about 5 Nintendo 64 games that you can actually play right now on the Nintendo Switch. Let's get into it. What's up everybody? Somewhere hidden in this video is my Corgi Link, and if you can find him, I want you to leave a comment down below with the timestamp and his exact location. Good luck, on to the video. The first game that we're going to discuss is Turok the Dinosaur Hunter. Turok the Dinosaur Hunter was released on the Nintendo 64 on March 4th, 1997 in North America, and the Switch version was released on March 18th, 2019 digitally, but there was a physical version through Limited Run Games for a limited time. The digital version is currently $19.99 on the Nintendo Switch eShop. Turok the Dinosaur Hunter is a first-person shooter that is sort of a cross between Doom and Tomb Raider in some ways, and it was an incredible game that was way ahead of its time. You will be exploring large expansive levels, finding weapons, secrets, platforming, and killing a large variety of humans, dinosaurs, and monsters, and of course epic boss fights. The game plays out like one large connected adventure, and in each level you will be searching for keys to insert into a hub portal area so that you can access other areas. There are plenty of awesome weapons to use and even power-ups to find, as well as some very well hidden secret areas as you explore the game. Turok has an incredibly epic feel to it that most first-person shooters from that era just did not have. It was a challenging first-person shooter, and it had good graphics and animations, fantastic level design, and stellar music. The Nintendo 64 version was sadly plagued by tough controls due to the fact that you only had one analog stick, and the performance of the game was sluggish due to the hardware limitations. But the HD remastered version fixes all that. Not only are the graphics cleaned up, smoothed out, and HDified, but the draw distance has been increased, the game runs at a buttery smooth 60 frames per second, and it controls like a modern first-person shooter game with dual analog controls. There are a ton of additional features added in, like increased button mapping, gyro aiming, and much more. One big change they made that made me very happy was adding an aiming reticule, because the Nintendo 64 version did not have one, and that was rough. All in all, the remaster is the definitive way to play this fantastic first-person shooter, and I'm very happy that we're able to play it on the Nintendo Switch. In addition to Turok the Dinosaur Hunter, we also got Turok 2 Seeds of Evil. Turok 2 released on the Nintendo 64 in North America on December 10th, 1998, and the Nintendo Switch remastered version released on August 9th, 2019. You can currently buy Turok 2 digitally on the Switch eShop for $19.99, and there was a physical version from Limited Run Games which was available for a limited time. Turok 2 took everything great about Turok 1 and made it even bigger and better, as well as fixing some of the issues with the first game. You still have tons of weapons, large expansive levels, lots of secrets to find, and tons of enemies and epic boss fights. But they managed to make the game play better, look better, run better, and it even had better level design and more control options. The music is even more epic and awesome this time around as well. The Turok 2 remaster has some of the same enhancements as the Turok 1 remaster, being much better HD graphics, increased draw distance, buttery smooth 60 frames per second gameplay, dual analog modern first-person shooter controls, increased button mapping, gyro aiming, and much more. Funny thing is, while I was playing Turok 2 to record gameplay footage for this video, I had forgotten just how damn good and ahead of its time the game is, and playing this remastered version is a dream. It looks great, it plays great, and it is definitely the definitive way to play Turok 2. If you are a Turok fan from the Nintendo 64 era, or if you just like fun first-person shooter games, then I highly recommend picking up Turok 2 Seeds of Evil on the Nintendo Switch. Now we just gotta hope that they remaster Turok 3 as well. Next up is Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, which is a pretty solid racing game with a really nice Star Wars feel. Star Wars Episode 1 Racer was released on the Nintendo 64 in North America on May 18th, 1999, and the Nintendo Switch remastered version was released on June 23rd, 2020. You can currently purchase the Nintendo Switch version digitally for $14.99 on the Switch eShop, and there was a physical version sold through Limited Run Games for a limited time. Star Wars Episode 1 Racer is a really fast-paced pod racing game based off the pod racing competition Anakin took part in Episode 1. It features many tracks across a variety of planets, several characters and pod racers to choose from, and 3 different single-player modes being Tournament, Free Race, and Time Attack. There's actually a decent bit of content there for a Nintendo 64 racing game. During Tournament mode, you can purchase parts to customize your pod racer with to improve its stats. During races, you can boost, turn sideways, slide around corners, and if you take too much damage, you can slow down to repair your pod racer so that it doesn't explode. Each track features shortcuts as well, which is always a welcome addition to a racing game. The game attempts to create a fast racing experience like F-Zero, Wipeout, and Extreme G, but with a very well done Star Wars theme. Star Wars Episode 1 is pretty fun. I actually enjoyed playing it. The speed is nice, the Star Wars theme is awesome, and I like when racing games give me a feeling of progression with my vehicle as I play. The HD remaster of course cleans up the graphics quite a bit and looks crisp and vibrant in HD, but it also allows you to play the game at a buttery smooth 60 frames per second. The Switch version also features optional motion controls if you want to mess around with that. So if you enjoyed Star Wars Episode 1 Racer on the Nintendo 64 back in the day, and you're looking for a fun and fast racing game, then I recommend checking it out. Next up is Doom 64, which is a fantastic old school first person shooter that has been stuck on the Nintendo 64 up until now. And a quick disclaimer for this next section, up until now you've been seeing Nintendo 64 and Switch gameplay side by side. Unfortunately, I was not able to do that with Doom 64 because my Doom 64 cartridge will not work. Some of the contacts have been damaged to the point to where no amount of cleaning is going to make this cartridge work, sadly. So I wasn't able to capture gameplay footage for the Nintendo 64 version, so you're just going to see Switch gameplay footage on this one. Doom 64 was released on the Nintendo 64 in North America on April 4th, 1997, and the Nintendo Switch version released on March 20th, 2020. You could purchase Doom 64 on the Nintendo Switch eShop for $4.99, which is a fantastic price, and there was a limited physical version through Limited Run Games. Doom 64 is the third game in the mainline Doom series, and prior to now it was only available on the Nintendo 64. It plays just like the first two Doom games, where you navigate maze-like levels, fighting tons of demons, finding badass weapons, looking for secrets, collecting keys, and finding the exit. There are 28 levels and 4 bonus levels, and it is just as fun and intense as the first two Doom games. The graphics were great and the game played good. It was just a blast. One thing that sets Doom 64 apart from other Nintendo 64 first-person shooter games was the fact that you didn't need to aim up or down, so the controls were much smoother and easier. Now, one major problem with the Nintendo 64 version is that it was pretty dark and hard to see what was going on at times. The remastered version fixes this issue with improved lighting, better textures, and of course everything is in a crisp HD. The game runs smoother and controls even better, and to top it all off, they added in 7 more levels that were not in the original game, bringing the level count to 39, which is insane. Doom 64 was already a terrific first-person shooter and an awesome entry in the series, but the remaster takes it to a whole badass new level, and just like almost every game on this list, this is the definitive way to play. So Nintendo 64 fans and or Doom fans, what are you waiting for? This game is only $5 on the Nintendo Switch eShop. That is practically a steal, so go buy it. The final game in today's video is Super Mario 64, which is one of my favorite games of all time. Super Mario 64 was released on the Nintendo 64 in North America on September 29th, 1996, and the Nintendo Switch version was released on September 18th, 2020 as part of the Super Mario 3D All-Stars pack, which included Super Mario Sunshine and Super Mario Galaxy as well. Now here's the thing, the Super Mario 3D All-Stars release was a limited release as part of Mario's 35th anniversary, and yes, I know this pissed off a lot of people, Me personally, it didn't bother me at all. So essentially, you can no longer purchase this pack digitally, and the physical version is only available until it is sold out everywhere, and then the price will very likely skyrocket on eBay. Now, I do firmly believe that Super Mario 64 will be available again on the Switch at some point, but as it stands, the only way to buy it is physically currently. Super Mario 64 was Mario's first foray into 3D, and it set the standard for 3D games with its fantastic controls and level design. Super Mario 64 is one of my favorite games of all time, as I stated earlier, and it is a game that I will go back and replay time and time again. It is worth mentioning that this is not its first re-release, as it was available on the Nintendo DS with new content added, and of course it was able to be purchased on the Wii and the Wii U through the Virtual Console service. There aren't really any new features added outside of cleaned up visuals in crisp HD. I will admit I would have liked to see them carry over the content from the DS game, as well as adding widescreen support and modern camera controls, but at the end of the day I just wanted to play Super Mario 64 on the Nintendo Switch, and now I can, so I'm happy. So like I said, at the time of me recording this video, the physical copies are still easy to find both in stores and online, so I recommend jumping on it before the game becomes hard to find, but I do think that's going to be a while, at least at the time of this recording. Well, there you have it, folks. 5 Nintendo 64 games that you can play right now on the Nintendo Switch. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button. Let me know in the comments down below if you've played any of the 5 Nintendo 64 games on the Switch that we discussed in today's video. Also, let me know in the comments down below, what Nintendo 64 games would you like to see remastered and re-released on the Nintendo Switch? I would love to hear those games in the comments down below. As always, folks, stay safe out there, keep playing games and having a good time, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Later. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you so much. You're freaking awesome, and if you enjoyed it, hit that like button, share it with your friends and family. Check out all the social media links in the description down below, and if you want to see more Retro Wolf 88 videos, here's a couple more for you. Now if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna go play some more video games. Later.